Hey guys, it's Jeremy here on Metal Music Meltdown, back with another video. Whatever today, guys, is something a little bit different. I'm going to do my top 10 debut hard rock albums of all time. I've been kind of thinking about doing a video like this for a bit now, and five or six of these titles came to my mind right away for the top five or six, and then after some thought, I kind of came up with the last ones to finish up the list. There's a couple bands like Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, the debut Ozzy album. Those are kind of hard rock-ish in terms of today's metal standards, but I still consider those metal albums, so I left those off the list. So let's jump right in, guys. I'm just going to say my standout tracks for each one. I'm not really going to say too much about the albums because it's not really an album review, it's just my top 10 list. So at number 10, I have the debut from Ted Nugent, self-titled, which came out in 75. Really classic hard rock album, my favorite one by Ted Nugent by far. Has some really classic songs like Hey Baby, Snakeskin Cowboys, and of course the epic Stranglehold, easily my favorite song by him and one of my favorite hard rock songs of all time. At number 9, I have Foreigner. A little bit on the softer side here, but really catchy songs, great melodies, great vocals. Three of their biggest songs were on this album: Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, and Long Long Way from Home. My favorite Foreigner album as well. Love it. Always like this album a lot. Really catchy. Number 8, Hometown Boys, Rush, Canadians, with their debut, again self-titled, with the songs such as In the Mood, Working Man's a fucking great song. Need Some Love, Finding My Way, just top to bottom, really solid Rush record, really hard rocking, less progressive, a little bit more hard rock edge on this one, but really strong opening for these guys. And at number 7, I have the debut by AC/DC, the first international debut, High Voltage. Standout tracks, TNT, High Voltage, the title track, and of course It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. Classic early AC/DC, one of my favorite albums from the Bon Scott era. Bon sounds amazing on this album. Great riffs by the guitarist Angus, the Young Brothers. Really good stuff. And at number 6, I have Led Zeppelin debut, another classic all-time band and album. Good Times, Bad Times, You Shook Me, Days Confused, of course. Just some really classic stuff on this one. Very kind of folky sounding, but hard rock, bluesy. Really good opening for this band. Iconic band, and I love all their stuff. At number 5, I have Boston's debut album, again self-titled and from 1976. In terms of songs, another album that's nothing but hits. More Than a Feeling was obviously the most popular song. Peace of Mind is easily my favorite song by them, and this is definitely my favorite album by Boston as well. They never kind of reached this level again. I think this album sold like 37 million copies or something. The production of this album is fucking insane. They recorded it in the basement of a guy's house, but it sounds so... The production just amazing on this album. One of the best productions I've ever heard on a rock album ever. Kind of changed the whole, like altering for that time period. The production in this was ahead of its time for sure. At number 4, I have the debut by Van Halen, again self-titled. Easily my favorite Van Halen album, with the Eruption titled Solo, and Ain't Talking About Love, Running with the Devil I really like too. Just some really catchy, blistering guitar work by Eddie. Rest in peace, brother. Great stuff on this album. A lot of covers, but Running with the Devil is a really good song. I love that song. And just a really fun album to listen to. Number 3 was the debut by none other than Jimi Hendrix, the Are You Experienced? Again, my favorite Hendrix album. He only put out, unfortunately, a couple albums, but with songs like Foxy Lady, Are You Experienced, the title track, Red House, Manic Depression, just top to bottom, really, really good stuff. Crazy guitar work, definitely revolutionary and ahead of his time. Definitely a legend, arguably the best guitarist of all time. And my top 2 were definitely locked in right away. Actually, my top 5 were really locked in right away, but the top 2 for sure, I knew were going to be 1 and 2 for sure. At number 2, I have the debut by the band Montrose, one of my favorite hard rock albums of all time. It's so good. It's the best album Sammy Hagar's sung on, in my opinion. This is like Van Halen, like 3 or 4 years before Van Halen. That's how I describe this album to people who aren't familiar with it. And in my opinion, this is better than a lot of the Van Halen material, to be honest with you. I love this album. Just full of hits, such as Bad Motor Scooter, Rock the Nation, Good Rockin' Tonight, Rock Candy's really good. Just top to bottom, really good hard rock songs. Super catchy, nice and heavy, good riffs. Definitely check that album out, guys, if you haven't heard it. And number one could be none other than the mighty Queen, my favorite non-metal band of all time. Their debut, self-titled as well. I'm noticing a trend there. Most people's self-titles were, or debuts were self-titled. This album is ridiculous. Keep Yourself Alive. Heavy tracks like Liar, Great King Rat, My Fairy King. Seven Seas of Rise on this one, instrumental. Fucking Son and Daughter is a really good tune. Modern Times of Rock and Roll. The whole album is amazing. My favorite hard rock album of all time, debut. Really experimental on this one, great production. A lot of really cool ideas were put into this. And Freddie Mercury vocals are unmatched. Greatest frontman of all time. Band members are all killing it. Love this album, listen to it all the time. So let me know down below, guys, what your top 10 would be for hard rock albums, if there's any I might have missed. Or maybe it's, I was thinking of putting like Sex Pistols. That's an iconic album as well, but that's more like punk. And I didn't really put that stuff on it. I want something with more of a rock edge or hard rock edge. But let me know down below, guys, if there's any things I might have missed. And until next time, keep it metal.